Looking for stories that are fresh and new? Dark fantasy, humor, space exploration, time travel, cyberpunk, alternate history, and more. They're in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology. From 24 award-winning authors and illustrators, plus art and writing tips and bonus stories. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Buy your copy at galaxypress.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold.
Looking for something new in dark fantasy, humor, space exploration, time travel, alternative history? They're in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology. Get the 10-volume box set with 159 stories and full-color illustrations, plus 34 articles with writings and art tips. Get the UPRN discount, $125 for the entire box set. That's a $60 savings for that beautiful box set. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Go to uprntalkradio.com, click on the link, and place your order.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show Into the Night with me, Sean Kelly. I sent the link to Tara. Hopefully she'll come on tonight. How was everybody's Halloween? Well, I was kind of busy. I had the Halloween show here, and I did a couple other things over the weekend, and it was okay. Hey, Johnny Freeman, how are you? Good to see you, pal. Good to see you. Thank you for coming to the show. I don't know. It's been a crazy week, ran into some situations that kind of got me really mad. And what I mean by mad is highly upset because a couple people were lying to me, and I don't like liars. Okay, I'm brutally honest with it. And so it kind of like not touched my ego, but it kind of hurt because all they wanted was money and all this stuff. And I just didn't really care for it. I was just mad. I hope everybody enjoyed the Halloween show last week, done by Lorelei. I know I had a good time on there. I learned a lot from all the hosts here on UPRN Talk Radio, 105.3 New Orleans, 107.7 Mississippi. And last week was really, really a great Halloween party. I really enjoyed myself. So as you can tell down below, the month of November is CRPS Awareness Month. And what that is, hey, Sebastian, good to see you, pal. Good to see you, buddy. Thank you. What it is it's a pain disease, okay? You're constantly in pain, okay? And the pain threshold is huge. And there's no cure for it. And all they can do for it is just give out, strong medication. I have like 3 friends, honestly, that are really, really hurting, and they have it. And so last month I was kind of like pushing it, but now it's this month, the CRPS disease, and my friend calls it the craps because it looks like craps. But if you can, look up on it. And hey, Virginia, good to see you, hon. Welcome to the show. And so if you can, kind of look it up because it really is a killer. It really is a killer. So tonight, okay, I have been waiting a long time for this, and I am so grateful to have my guest on tonight. I met him back in 2010, at the Westmoreland Community College Bigfoot convention up there. And he also was a co-host with me and Jenny Nicasio on Chasing Prophecy. And me and him were talking before the show, and it's been a long time since me and him actually talked. And so he's done a lot in a year, and I am just like, I'm just waiting for you all to hear him. He's a good dude. He knows his stuff. So without further ado, I would love you to give you John Ventre to the show. Hey, John.
Hey, how you doing, Sean? Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here. Thank
Yeah.
you for the compliment, Virginia. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Halloween, and how I made a couple of comments on Facebook last week about Halloween, and I think it might have been the first time I did that because people. I was a huge Halloween fan, loved it. I got married October 29th. It's as close to Halloween as possible. I tried to time the birth of my son to Halloween, and he came 6 weeks premature. He would have been born right around Halloween.
Wow.
He came September 16th, and he was 6 weeks early. I just love the horror stuff, on Halloween. But we're going to talk about some stuff tonight, but that caused me to stay away from Halloween. Anything that would open the door, bring in spirits, entities, that type of stuff. I think in the last 8-9 years, I've only decorated one time for Halloween. And so I put up on Facebook, just be really careful Halloween night, no Ouija boards, no rituals, because it opens a door and you demons in. And the way I can prove it to you is that, in all the research I did in demonology and exorcism is the infestation of poltergeists or demons, let's say. The peak month is November. So why November? Because everybody celebrates Halloween and they go overboard. The kids think it's funny. They get a Ouija board, they start playing that. Some people do some rituals. They go in cemeteries, and they're doing stuff they think's funny or, whatever. And they're making contact and it's opening the door. So it has always been November is the peak of that, not just ghostly stuff. This is the more serious stuff. And, then interestingly, and I read this, is that, and experienced it, is when you get into December, then the month of November is bad. You get into December, the closer you get to Christmas, it dies down. It really weakens because of the birth of Jesus. And
Right.
Jesus is their arch enemy. So you're getting closer to Christmas and that stuff, they have to leave. They have to get away, unless you're actually making it easy for them, So I wanted to mention that. But there was one girl on my page that I don't even know who she is. She got so offended of my saying that. And she goes, "You're not ruining my fun." And, and then somebody said to her, "Then why are you on his page?" And she goes, "I'm not anymore." And she unfriended me,
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know who she is, but I
Well,
just
look at it this way, John. Honestly, people out there, just don't have respect for what other people, believe.
yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, that's my motto. It's like, I will respect what you believe. Just please respect
Yeah,
what I believe. And
yeah.
I
Well,
know me and you have butted heads there for a while.
yeah. But trying to help the people out there is that I believe that 100%. You got to be careful Halloween. You really got to be careful.
Mhm.
But so I buy 3 bags of candy and I get 9 people come to the door. So I got 2 bags left for me. I've been eating them all week.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
we
so-
had 150 kids.
I don't get nothing on my street. The houses are, more spread out. I got 2 acres. The others don't have as much property as me, but I guess it's too far a walk for these kids today. They ain't going to walk. The houses are spread out. They're not walking, so, but this morning I uploaded my book, what I've been working on. And I might have started working on it back when we were doing Chasing Prophecy. I've always updated the book. I wrote it in 2016. It's called The Ufologist, The Haunting of John Ventre. Ufologist being the UFO expert with the haunting, And so I've always updated, and I actually had a lot of stuff happen this year. So I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to trim the book down, redo the book, and then put it back out there. And it's up to date through Halloween,
Hey,
And-
Jenny, good to see you.
Yeah, so I did that this morning. I'm waiting for it actually to get approved. I take a day or two, and then I'll order 20, 30 copies, and I'll bring them to the conferences and sell them, probably $10, $12 each. It's 189 pages, but it's my story of my paranormal encounters since I was like 4 years old, but then how it got so weird that, we're going to get to this, that when I was doing at the peak of my popularity with the Hangar One TV show on the History Channel, in 2014 and 15, something shows up in my house in 2014. And it was clearly a demon. It was a demonic entity, but we'll get to that. So, and there are things that happen involving UFO conferences, my UFO involvement. What does that have to do with the demonic? And, I've done this 180 that, and I'll say it right here in the beginning of the show, I believe the alien abduction, I think that's demonic. I don't think that aliens do the things that people describe in the middle of the night and then keep coming back, and then you got no control over these abductions. I have done enough research in demonology to realize when I read some of these books by Carla Turner, Betty Andrige, and some of the others, I even have a PowerPoint presentation on it where I take about 5 cases and talk about, this is what they said. These are famous UFO cases. That's a marker of the demonic. That's a marker. That's a marker. That's a marker. These people are dealing with demonic entities. These are not aliens, And then
you're saying that everybody with MUFON, is dealing with demons?
No, not every. I think that you have to separate the UFO in the sky, right? Because the UFO, we get it on radar. People are seeing it. I think you have to, and that's what MUFON investigates, is the UFO, the object, right? And but the contact, the entity, the abduction, the contact, I think you have to separate that from the UFO. They may not be the same thing, even though sometimes the UFO is seen and the entity is seen and there's an abduction and that type of stuff. I just don't see the UFO field. I just see it as paranormal, not scientific. It's paranormal. It's what it is,
But in the paranormal field that they do have, the people who are spiritual, but you also got the scientific people in the paranormal. Yeah. And that would probably be the same way with the UFO community. You know what I mean?
Well, what's funny? We're doing the UFO conference since 2009, right? And I recruited Fred Saluga because he moved up here from Florida. And in 2014, so I had already filmed the first season of Hangar One, and it may have, I think it aired in February, that first season. So it's over, and I'm doing a show in Pittsburgh over there called UFOs over Pittsburgh, right? And we're filming it right over by the football stadium. There's a studio there, and it's on TV. It's aired on public television, whatever channel it was at the time. And Fred Saluga, he one day says to me, John, you got to look at the alien abduction. Because, MUFON, in my 10 years, 15 years at that point with MUFON, I was really doing scientific investigations. You said you saw something. We went to all these websites, tried to find out what was in the sky at that time and do these interviews and stuff. And I never really, I didn't have anybody actually come to me and saying they were abducted. So I didn't do it. I never did an abduction. So he goes, it doesn't add up. You got to look at it. And it was no sooner that he said that. And I don't know if that's a coincidence. Maybe it was a warning. Maybe like the guardian angel had him tell me that. I don't know. But it was no sooner he said that, weeks later, something shows up in my house, and
Wow.
yeah, and it shows up between the two seasons of Hangar One, and I'll tell you though, I look at this UFO field again, and I know some of the people are going to be saying, "Oh, I don't believe this guy. This is crazy." But I joined MUFON in 1998, and I know nothing about UFOs. I wrote a book on end time prophecy. The Mayan calendar. I'm traveling all over the country, being invited to festivals, speaking about the Mayan calendar, the end time prophecy in 2012 and all of that. And I said, you know what, I'm going to write a book on UFOs next, because when I was doing the research, a lot of these cultures talked about people from the stars, people on flying shields. And so it gave me the impression that, well, they're talking about UFOs. So I knew nothing. When I joined MUFON, I knew zero. I was a horror fan, Comic-Con. I collected famous monsters of filmland. Yeah, I can tell you all about the classic Universal movies. I didn't know one thing about UFOs other than I went to see Alien and Predator. In the movie theater. That was about all I knew.
I like Predator. I think that was the best one.
Oh yeah, yeah. I just bought Prey, the one that was on Hulu. That's what the Predator shows up with the Native Americans. That was actually a good show. If they were smart, they would take Predator and do these movies where all through history, like they did Aliens and Cowboys, right? So this one was Predator with the Indians, but why not do Predator with Rome, with Roman soldiers? Predator with Templar Knights during the Crusade, and have them fight him. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, it would.
I get these ideas when I see stuff. It is right away. It's like, oh shit, man, I would do this, and I would do this, and and I've always been that way, creative. That's why I write.
Why don't you write it down, brother?
Oh, well, I have, and I worked with the Discovery Channel and the History Channel, and I kept some contacts, and I've made the mistake of giving them my ideas and saying, just put me in it. Here's the idea. And, UFO Hunters took my idea. Was it UFO Hunters? No, it was Ancient Aliens. They took my idea and did a whole show on it. Every single thing I gave the guy was in the show. I'm sitting there looking at it and saying, how can that be? That's what I gave the guy. So, right. I texted him the next day, messaged him or emailed him. And he goes, well, I never passed your stuff on. I said, well, that's a problem, first of all, because I'm helping you with the script for free, and you tell me you didn't pass it on. So what's the odds that they do a show and there's like 8 points I gave you, all 8 are in that show, No, wow. That's a mistake. But I've tried. I've put it in. They have a portal on Discovery Channel, and you go in, and it's confidential. They sign an agreement, but they've never got back to me. And I think I have some really good ideas, So
you do.
Yeah,
you do. How many books do you have out there, brother?
It's 10 books on 5 subjects. I think there's three on end time prophecy, one on slavery, one on my first book in the world written on COVID, right? And then UFOs, where I think 4. And I'm probably missing one somewhere. Oh, this demonology. There's actually 2, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I would put the ufologist in the. Well, it's a haunting. It's UFOs and demonology. So I don't know, but 10 books. But let me just take you back a little and try to tell you why I believe what I believe. So I joined MUFON in '98. Didn't know anything. I'm 41 years old. So 99, the MUFON Symposium is in Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, right? So I said, okay, that's like 2.5 hour drive. I'm going to go to my first MUFON symposium because I'm a MUFON member, right? So I go and I meet all these people and I see these presentations and I go home. It's 4th of July. I didn't stay for the fireworks. I said, I'm going to go home. So I get home 4th of July, right, of 99, and I go to bed. I have the most lucid dreams. I have an out-of-body experience. I'm floating above the house. There's something in the bedroom with me, and when I fall asleep, I see, in my dream, it's if it is a dream or it's your consciousness that went somewhere, I don't know what it is, but this is kind of hairy, like It from the TV show Cousin It. It's standing next to the bed and it's got long hair and stuff. I'm waking up like every hour and a half, swinging my fist. I actually hit the headboard. I almost broke my wrist, and I could feel the presence in the room. There is something in the room with me, and it's not saying anything. It's not making any noises. It's as soon as I fall asleep, I'm having these lucid dreams. I dream I'm floating. It's an out-of-body experience. I'm floating above the house. My cars, I could see my car in the driveway, a green Grand Cherokee I had, and the peak of the house is right here where my desk is. And I was saying to myself, touch it, move your hand, touch the peak of the house. I don't know what would have happened because I think that would have woke me up, either I'm going to see I'm floating in the air, or I fall outside, or I just go back to my body. I don't know what would happen, but it went on for 4 nights, and my girlfriend at the time, it's funny. I'm the MUFON investigator, right? And she jumps on Newfork. They're like MUFON. They're located in Seattle. And she goes, John, I looked up that night, July 4th, and she said there was a UFO sighting over Penn State, and there was a UFO sighting over Morgantown, West Virginia. And I said, well, I think if you draw a line from Penn State to Morgantown, it would go right over my house, pretty close,
Right.
So you got these 2 sightings that took place that night. It was just weird. So, I always said, why at a UFO conference? And then I'm at the conference, and I don't remember if it was Friday or Saturday. I'm single. This really attractive blonde comes in, right? And it was something about her, almost albino-ish. But in my head, I'm saying, well, if there's a hybrid there, half human, half alien, it's going to come to a UFO conference,
Yeah.
So I see her sit down, and it's lunch break. She comes in at 11. They break for lunch at 12. I make sure I get behind her online, right? So, you know how it's done. And then, we get lunch. I say, oh, can I sit with you? Okay, yeah. So we start talking. And, she's got these gray bloodshot eyes, whitest white skin you can imagine. Even her hair was, it's almost whitish and stuff. And so we go back at 1:00 and sit down. I didn't sit with her. I'm looking all over. She's not there. So who pays for a conference, shows up for 1 hour and doesn't come back? She never came back to the conference. So I'm saying to myself, that might have been a hybrid. That could have been.
Yeah.
They were there. She was there checking something out. But I made this contact with her, right? So now I go home Sunday night, and I got all this craziness in my house upstairs, right? So that's one thing with the UFO conference. Then in probably 15 or 16, I'm at the MUFON symposium with Jan Harzan and his wife. I was on the board of MUFON, so I'm sitting at the table with some of the MUFON people. And I'm jumping ahead here a little bit, but, I'm telling Jan's wife, who I know is very religious, that I got a demon in my house. I got something in my house. And she looks at me and says, John, I have seen that here at the symposium, at the MUFON. I said, what? She goes, I have sat in the back of the room and I have seen shadow people moving among the crowd as there are people sitting watching the lecture. She says, I have seen shadow people moving among the tables and the people and stuff, that she has seen it, right?
Right.
So then I think it was 2018. There's the MUFON Symposium. I didn't go to that one. It was maybe 18 or 19. 18 was in Cherry Hill. I actually set that up as I did in 2014 and ran the symposium, but I think it was 2019. So I didn't go to the symposium, and people start contacting me saying, "John, did you hear what happened at the symposium?" And I said, "No." There was a bunch of shadow people seen at the symposium, but it was seen by a couple of state directors, and they were like up in arms. They saw it, and they wanted to have a meeting, like an emergency meeting with the board and stuff. What is this? And then there's a guy who's the second in charge of the abductions. They have an abduction group, right? He dies in his room. He dies in his room. It's 2019. He was a psychologist and he died. And I kind of now think to myself, did he have the first case of COVID? Because they said he had like a flu-like symptoms, that type of stuff. So this is probably August of 2019. COVID didn't break until March of 20, let's say, but there were cases of COVID prior to that, and China just wasn't saying anything. So now I got the MUFON director's wife. I got state directors saying they're seeing shadow people at conferences, So it's like, what's this connection now with UFOs and my experience in 99? And I'm saying, the more I look into it, I say, I don't think this UFO thing is what we think it is, and I start thinking, okay, it's not from space, it's interdimensional,
Right.
Something that comes through a dimension. And because it flies, we say, oh, it's from space. Well, they see as many UFOs coming out of the water as they see in the air. So, does that mean they're from the ocean? Maybe. I don't know.
True.
It could
be. But, what's your theory on whenever a Bigfoot is witnessed or seen, that they're part of the UFO community?
There's a couple of cases. Pennsylvania has two famous cases of Bigfoot and UFOs at the same time. 1966, Presque Island up in Erie. There's 5 people in a car drive out to Presque Island. They pull out onto the sand, and then they get stuck in the sand. And I think 2 of them got out and went for help, tried to get a tow truck, something to pull them out. The other 3 stayed behind. So there's documented UFO sighting that night. I think these people even saw the UFO. So the 2 guys go, and they leave 1 guy and I think 2 women in the car. And those 3, they see a Bigfoot. It comes up to the car. It shakes the car. It scratches the car. They're screaming. And the park police or whoever it was, I don't know if he heard them screaming. He actually started running, and he dropped his gun in the sand, and he kept running to try to help them, and the Bigfoot leaves and the UFO leaves, and the following day, and I got pictures of this, there was like fur on a tree branch. It was kind of a thin tree, maybe it was that big, and it was leaning sideways. And on the branch, there's fur, and the police officer is pointing to it, and there's these large footprints in the sand. So they pour cast plaster casts, and then the Air Force shows up. Project Blue Book showed up. And they took all of the casts and they kicked sand in the holes, and they took the fur and everything. And that was the end of that case, But then in 1973, there was a big UFO wave that started down in Pascagoula, Mississippi. Came up the Mississippi River, came across Pennsylvania, and it ended up in New Hampshire. And it lasted 6 weeks. And the case in Pascagoula was an abduction. It was actually a pretty famous case. And in Alabama, the police chief took a picture of this almost tinfoil looking alien standing there. And when he brought it forward the next day to the town people, it's a small town in Alabama, they went crazy. They burned his house down, and they ran the police chief out of town.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if they thought it was demonic or it was or alien. It just scared them so much they got rid of the person who told them about it.
Hey, John, I got a question for you,
Yeah.
pal.
Yeah.
Okay, this is from Virginia Land again. John, what was your inspiration for the demonology book you've written? What was the greatest experience you ever had that was paranormal?
Okay. Well, the inspiration of the book was, and I was leading up to that, was in 2014, June 7th of 2014. So it's in between. I'm a star on the Hangar One show. People know me. They recognize me in the airports. Are you the guy from the UFO show? Yeah, right. So I'm in the house here and I'm watching the baseball game. It was the Detroit Tigers. I got a 110-pound Doberman. And the Doberman was not a friendly dog. He comes over to me, and he has never done this. I'm in the lounge chair. He comes over, and my legs are out. He lays across my legs, like to protect me or something, And it was a couple of minutes later, I'm watching the baseball game. On the wall, there is a bang that, like a sonic boom in the house. Boom! And the dog's in front of me. So he turns, I turn at the same time and look. I have a picture on the wall of 3 Native Americans overlooking Mount Washington in Pittsburgh. The picture flips up, like maybe a half inch, and I got 2 Indian headdresses. The feathers blow to the side, right?
Oh, wow.
So I at 9:00 every night in the summer, I go upstairs and as soon as the sun goes down, I open the attic door because there's screens and the skylights and the cool air comes in and it cools the house down, in the summer. You don't have to use a lot of air conditioning. So I go upstairs to open the attic door, and right in the hallway, I walk into this column of smell. I thought when I first walked into it, I said, "Oh man, did the dog do his business up here in one of the bedrooms?" Right? Then I saying, "Well, this smells more like rotting flesh, like a dead animal or something." So I step back, and I don't smell it. I step forward, I smell it. So and I walk through it, and then I don't smell it. I go in the bathroom. Well, it don't smell in there. So I put the fan on in the bathroom, thinking I'll suck it out, because it's right outside the bathroom door. But this is column of smell that smells like a dead animal, basically. So I go back down, watch the game, 10:30ish. Go back upstairs to go to bed, and the dog sleeps on the kind of chair at the footboard of my bed. Like I say, it's 110 pounds, a big Doberman. So he lays down. I put the TV on to get the weather or the news, and so I can see the dog's head. And I'm watching the news, and then in my bathroom, again, there's this boom, boom. Sean, these are like a cannon went off in your house. And the dog and I, boom, we both turned and look at the bedroom, right? At the bathroom, right where the sound came from. And I ignored it. I turned the fan off in the bathroom, and the smell was still there like 3 hours later. And I said, I don't know what this is, but I'm going to bed, right? So I went to bed, and there was no other activity. But the next day, I woke up. I said, I got concerned about it. So I contacted. I had recruited some ghost hunters into the MUFON group, because I said they know how to, even like you guys know how to investigate. So you might know ghosts, and he might know Bigfoot, and he might that type of thing. So I recruited them as UFO investigators, and it turned out to be really good at it too. So I called 2 of them who were into the ghosts, and they both said the same thing independently. Was if it smelled like a dead animal, you have a demon in your house. That's not a ghost. That's a demon.
Yeah, that's true too. If you didn't find any, I have a follow-up question for you. This one's from Boots the Cat.
Yeah.
Do you perceive them as just another repetitive exercise with little likely outcome, or are you inclined to believe that they're a significant step towards full disclosure?
Is he talking about my experience with this
Yes.
alien, a ghost?
Yeah, I would think so.
Well,
Yes. Wait. Oh, okay. Hold on, John. He goes, John, I'm curious to hear your perspective on the
in the
latest.
congressional hearings.
Uh,
Well, let's
yes.
put it this way. Yeah. Uh, for the whole time I was with MUFON, I was one of the biggest proponents that UFOs are real. They're from outer space, and there's documents, there's witnesses, there are military. You have some people coming out saying it, and there's a lot of documented evidence from the 50s and 60s, but the government always denied it with Project Blue Book. So as the government said it's not real and we don't investigate UFOs, I always said yes, you do. As a matter of fact, if you go on Facebook, if you go to my page, I put my interview with Anderson Cooper up there from 2012. It's only about a minute and a half. It's me arguing with him and Joe Nickel of the Skeptic Society, and Anderson will not believe that the military knows about UFOs and they're covering it up. So, he was wrong 11 years ago, obviously, because now you got congressional hearings and now the military and the Pentagon's telling you that UFOs are real. Mm-hmm. So not because of that, but now the military tells you they're real, I don't believe they are. When they were saying they're not real, I said they were real. Now that they say that they are real, I said, bullshit, they're not real. Because, for you to come forward, you always have another agenda. So now I've lost faith in the fact that the military says, and the Pentagon, and the whole way that thing came out with Lou Elizondo and the guy from Blink 182, it was all a scam. It was just made up to pull you in. Some marketing guy put this together, and that's what it was, So I've become more skeptical of the UFO from space. I'm less skeptical of UFOs from a dimension or the future, maybe us from a couple of 100 years from now. But I am 1,000% convinced that, ghosts are real, demons are real, angels are real, and that a lot, if not most of the abductions are really demonic infestations, But this thing got actually worse. So that was 2014. And so now it's funny how your guardian angel's looking out for you, because sometimes they got to scare you straight. And
who's yours? Who's your guardian?
I have no idea. I never asked, but I know it's there, But so I'm on, I'm not dating anybody at that time. And I get on, was it Match.com? One of them. And I meet this really beautiful Italian girl, and she's been on my podcasts. She's a year older than me. I would have put her at 40 years old. She's 66 now, 67. It looks like Sophia Loren. And so I start dating her, and, that's going back 9 years. She was 57 back then, let's say. So I start dating her, and I have to start talking about this because it had just happened a couple of months earlier. And she goes, that happened to me. I said, what? What are the odds you meet somebody on a date and they had a demonic attack? And she says to me, I'm going to come over. I got my own holy water. I know what to say, what to do. She came over. She went room by room, holy water, drove, said her prayers, the St. Michael prayer, all of that. And boom, now the house is clean, right? Mm-hmm. But it only lasted a few months, and then it came back, and it always comes back. It's like they play a game, it's like a psychological game with you, and it's like the CIA, like they're waterboarding you, and and they come back, really, and it's all psychological game, because you think about the movie The Invisible Man, right? We're fighting the Invisible Man. I can't see him. I saw it one time. Mm-hmm. It was 5 a.m, and my bed, where my bed is, I can see right down the hallway, right? So I wake up at 5, and it's like sudden, and there's somebody standing at the end of the hallway, and I'm like, I'm rubbing my eyes, I'm slapping my face, and I'm looking, there's somebody standing there. I said, what the heck is that, right? And he's standing, and that's where that door is, where the smell was. The door's there to go up the attic, but it looks like he's backlit, like the attic light is on, you know? So
Mhm.
I got a silhouette figure. He's over 7 feet tall because his head is a little above the door frame. And when I saw him, he froze in place. And he had long arms, long legs. And I remember the waist was like 18 inches, what about that size was the waist, you know?
Did he have
So
a top hat?
he had a no top hat. He had a square head like a helmet, you
Huh.
know, almost like the Templar Knights who had the flat top helmet,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm looking, but I can't. You know, there was no indication of a collared shirt. No, whatever it was skin tight, tiny waist, square head, and very long arms and legs. You know,
Mhm.
and uh, and it's like 30 seconds into it, I crawl to the footbed. So now I'm 6 feet closer, and I'm looking down the hallway. I said, "There's somebody standing there." So I said to myself, I didn't say it out loud. I said, "Step over the footboard, charge it, and hit it as hard as you can." As soon as I had the thought, like another voice in my head said, "You don't want to do that. That could be dangerous. You want to
Right.
step off the side of the bed, turn the light on."
Mhm.
So, I work at UPS, safety first.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh,
Yes.
I should do that." So I went and did that, and it's gone. But here's the strange thing. I walked down the hallway. I was looking for footprints down there, right? And I walked past my Doberman who's sleeping at the top of the stairs. He's asleep. I
Right.
come back. He's asleep. You walk past the Doberman twice and see if he don't turn his head. You can't walk past the dog twice and he don't wake up, you know. So it's almost like that abduction thing. But then I'd go to bed and I turn the light off and I see a light outside the house and it's getting dimmer, pulling away. So the UFO people say that was an alien. You're on this Hangar One show. You made yourself popular. They know who you are now. It had a square head. There was a light outside that got dimmer. That was an alien thing.
Mhm.
Maybe it was.
Okay.
But it was all around that same time with the demon. But then it even gets worse. Is that it was no, actually, a couple of years before that, my girlfriend's living with me. My kids come over for Thanksgiving, and they grew up in New Jersey, but I always brought them out here, and I always got them for Thanksgiving. So we go to bed at 12:30, right? And we turn the lights out, and we hear walking up and down the hallway. So I said to my girlfriend, it's probably the kids. They're walking up to the door, see if they can hear anything, like if we're messing around, right? So I get up in the morning. Well, she leaves for work. She had to go to work the next day on Friday after Thanksgiving. And she always uses the bathroom in the hallway, right? Where that
Mhm.
smell was. And so I get up to brush my teeth. And on my mirror in the master bathroom, there's two arm prints like this, an X like that
Oh
on
wow.
the mirror, except it's got 6 fingers.
Oh shit.
Clearly, six
Dude.
fingers on each hand. And the imprint are the two bones hollow in the center,
Oh
like a
my
skeleton,
god.
like a
Oh wow.
skeleton. And I'm looking at the size of it. And, I lean forward and I said, man, I can't really get my hand on the top of the mirror and my elbow. So I take a tape measure and I measured. And what's funny? The fingers were small. Like, here's
Mhm.
my hand. The fingers cut off like at this top digit. It was like they had really short fingers, like about that.
Right.
That was the fingers, really short fingers, right? But 6 of them. So I measure it, and then I measure my elbow to finger, and it's 3 inches longer than mine. So,
Oh
you
wow.
put your arms out. I'm 6 feet. My arm length is 6 feet, 6'1", right? So, but it's 3 inches. So it's 3, 6, 9, 12. That thing was 7 feet tall. And the thing
Wow.
it made the impression. And the thing down the hallway I saw was 7 feet tall with long arms,
Oh my god.
So,
Hey,
that stuff's all real,
Of course it's real. But I
Yeah.
have another, my friend Rhonda. She has a question for you, brother.
Oh,
But
Rhonda was the
before,
girl that helped me. I don't know. Oh, this is a different Rhonda.
this is Rhonda. Yes, a different one. But before I tell you this question here, at 9 o'clock, we're going to take a 2-minute break. So if you have to go to the bathroom or get something to drink, or
How long is the show?
2 hours till
Oh,
10.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Yeah.
1 hour. Okay, that's fine.
No, no, it's 2 hours now.
Okay.
And so at 9 o'clock, we're going to take the break for about 2.5 minutes, and then we'll get back and do the second part of your show,
Yeah.
which you have some more interesting stuff that you'd
Mm.
like to share with us. But the question is from Rhonda. She goes, "My dad lived in Roswell, New Mexico for years and worked for the county. He took me out near White Sands before. It is hard to explain the feeling you get when you go near there. In your opinion, what do you think they are using that area for? And do you think they are replicating the spacecrafts there?" Good question, Rhonda.
Yeah. Well, that area, White Sands, Roswell, was where we launched the atomic bomb from to Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So, Little Boy, I think that was maybe the name of what they dropped in that airplane. They left from there. That's where it was all put together, the bombs, everything. So that's where all of that was created, which is kind of interesting. And that's where you see this UFO stuff taking place. But I got a story to tell you. So I go to Roswell for the first time in 2013, right? So I don't go during the festival for 4th of July because, people walking around in tin hats making fun of it. And that's not what I'm into. I go the week before because I want to go to the museum and, I want to see everything. So I go to Roswell and, so I go to the museum, I did, and then I go to this Chinese restaurant to eat after I do that, right? I'm sitting there. It's not the same girl from 1999. There's another girl sitting there, similar looking, right? Pale as can be, bloodshot gray eyes, kind of albino looking. So I noticed her, and right away, my head said, that's like the girl you ran into at the UFO conference,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm leaving the next day going to Santa Fe. And I had a book that I was writing while I was on vacation called The Alternative History of Mankind. And I had the book, the cover art, I had the title. I didn't know how to tell my story. That's what I was trying to figure out, but I keep writing my notes, right? So I'm leaving Roswell, heading out. I'm going to go to Santa Fe. And I had come from Albuquerque, so it's the same road. And it's 173 miles, 178 miles. About halfway at about the 90-mile mark, there's this like abandoned town with 2 or 3 stores open, right? There's a gas station and a brand new diner. You 1950s diner, brand new, roller skates, it is the most out of place thing to make you think you just went back in time because all the other stores in that town are closed. They went out of business, whatever. So I know exactly where I'm going, and I'm leaving to head now to Santa Fe for my drive. There's the girl from the Chinese restaurant, the albino looking hybrid girl, hitchhiking out of town, right? And I look at her. She got no purse, no bag, no nothing. And I said, where could this girl be going? Who hitchhikes? You don't even have a purse,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going, once you leave Roswell, there ain't nothing for about 90 miles, right? So I don't pick her up because I don't pick up hitchhikers. A light bulb in my head goes off and I say, that's how you write your book. And people have told me that book is the best book I've ever written.
Mm-hmm.
In the book, I pick her up and she's a hybrid. And on our drive, our 3-hour drive, we discussed the whole UFO thing. And she's telling me how they have there are like ancient aliens. they're our real history. And I'm kind of arguing, you know, I believe in creation and God, and I know the demonic side is real, you know, and she acknowledges that the aliens have that in common with us. They're afraid of the dark side. They know the demons are real. So whatever planet she's from, they have the same experiences with Satan and demonic entities. It was a cool book that I wrote. And I'll tell you something funny. In the story, I put that we stop at that 50s diner, right? And I'm a big Detroit Tiger fan. So we're in there. You know, I said to her, do you want to stop and get a burger? I want to get a burger and a milkshake. So she goes, yeah, right? So the diner pops up like a couple of miles later, you know, in the story I'm doing this. And there was no, like, I didn't know there was a diner there, right? So we go in, I have a burger and a milkshake. I go into the bathroom to use the urinal. And right above me is the Detroit Tigers. And it's a story about them. I said, well, what's the odds that I'm a Tiger fan and there's a big article of the Tigers? I'm in Albuquerque. I'm in in New Mexico. So as we walk back to the car, she says to me, you know, I said, well, that was pretty good. And she says, yeah, I'm just glad you didn't ask for seafood. Well, you know, because I said I wanted a burger and a shake. She created the 1950s diner with burgers and shakes. So she said, I'm glad you didn't ask, because then she'd have to create a seafood restaurant, right? You know, so it was kind of my humor or wit in the story. But that is true that I saw this woman just
Where do you think the hybrids come from?
Well, if you listen to Dr. David Jacobs, he says that the aliens have been here for a long time. You know, even if it's, let's say my feeling is 1942 was when they really showed themselves to us, the Battle of L.A. There's a lot to the Battle of L.A. that took place February 1942. You know, it was the first time we fired on a UFO. First time we used the excuse of weather balloons, and the first time we denied UFOs, even though there's a famous picture of a cone-shaped UFO with 9 spotlights on it and anti-aircraft fire hitting all around it, but we couldn't take the thing down, you know. But David Jacobs, you know, he said they're here to take the planet over. They have no regard for us. And they abduct people, which is all the abduction stuff that we've always heard. It's the aliens doing that. And they take the genetic material and, they create a generation, every 20 years, another generation, to the point that the hybrids fit into our society. You know, they don't look that albino like the ones I ran into 20 years ago. They look like us. They're in CEOs and companies, politicians. They might only be 3% alien, but they have this hive mentality. They're still connected, you know. Well, let me tell you one other thing. I didn't tell you in 1999 when I went to the MUFON Symposium and I had the out-of-body experience and all of that, is in my dreams, you know, this is where I'm mixing this alien and demonic thing. In my I'd lay down and go to sleep, and I had this dream that my Doberman is floating in the air with his feet sticking out, you know, and there's this hybrid kid. There's this kid there poking him. I remember it like yesterday, and I'm yelling at the kid, stop poking my dog. Like he never saw a dog before. He's poking him in the ribs as he's floating in the air. And I remember the background was a cream-colored nothing. There was no windows, no doors, no curtain. It was just cream-colored. The dog is floating. The kid, he has no shirt on, and he turns around to look at me. He's got these big eyes, like the size of my glasses, right? That's the size of his eyes. He's got like all hair plugs, like hair that didn't grow right. And his forearm is like twice the size of mine, right? And on the end, the bone is sticking out of the elbow like that, you know? And he's got a huge Popeye like forearm. And I look at this thing, and, you know, and then I write it down, right? I wrote down what happened when I decided to write a book. And I always wondered, is this my kid? Is this kid a hybrid and I'm his father? And they're like, I'm introducing me to the kid, I'm playing with the kid, that type of thing, you know?
Mhm.
And so when I decide to write my book on, my experiences, I pull my notes out and I look at it. And in my notes, it doesn't say anything about this bug-eyed, muscular kid. It's not in my notes. My notes say the kid has a rat boy face with these buck teeth like a rat, and his hair is slicked back, and he's wearing like a black outfit like Nosferatu. Kid looked like almost like a vampire, but he had these he looked like a rat face boy, you know? So I said to myself, wait a minute. My memory is of the other kid, but yet I wrote this version down. So I don't know what that means. Did I see both of these kids? Is one a screen memory that's put in my head that only one
Very
of them?
possible. Very
Who the
possible.
hell knows? But, think about that. You have this, it's like the Mandela effect. You got this memory, Sean, of coming to the UFO conference in 2010, right? Now, and you were a speaker, and you remember it, right?
Yep.
Now, what if I pulled the poster out because I got it downstairs and you're not listed as a speaker, and I tell you, you were never there. You didn't speak, right?
Right.
That's what it was like. I saw a kid that I remember, but what I wrote down was totally different. And when I read it, I remembered it. I remembered exactly what that other kid. So maybe they were both there. I don't know. But, that's the whole abduction thing where, you meet these hybrid kids and all of that stuff. And that falls under the UFO side. But I'm telling you, what happened with me was the beginning, I think, of a demonic attack. Or I experienced both. I experienced UFOs and a demonic attack,
Right.
I don't know, but I don't know. It's very, very weird. But it all centers around this UFO field,
Hi, Amanda. Hi, Brandon. Good to see you. Johnny, if you're still around, thank you for stopping in. Rhonda, thank you for the wonderful questions. Cindy, thank you for saying hello. Hello. And everybody else who's still in the chat.
Yeah.
In about 3 minutes, it's going to be 9 o'clock, and then we're going to take our 2-minute break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk some interesting stuff with John at what has happened to him. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, in the meantime, since I got 2.5 minutes, I tell you this story, nothing to do with anything we're talking about here, but
Right.
I went to Europe a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was knighted as a Knights Templar. The whole ceremony with the sword. I got the cape with the big red cross, the shroud that you wear, everything, the dagger, all of that stuff. So I was knighted in the UK as Knights
That
Templar.
is so cool, man.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to talk about into the second hour.
Okay, well, I got more UFO stuff to tell you too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But, and as I looked into them, boy, they are just like me. They talk about having high standards and values, and and of course it's the UK, so it was to maintain the British lineage and their society, and they're being inundated with illegal aliens just like us. Same thing. This liberalism, these progressives are trying to destroy the old world, USA, Europe, and it's happening all over, and they're upset about it, And but I go. They have a podcast, and I jump on it, a couple of times a week, and this is the same stuff I talk about in my political stuff. Running for governor and running for county commissioner. They talk exactly like I do. About being conservative and having high values and not doing pagan things. And a lot of what you see from the progressives is actually paganism, which goes back to fallen angels. That's what it is,
Okay. No, you didn't. You're good, but you're good, Brandon. You spelled it correctly, I do believe. But so we are coming up, dude, and In about 30 seconds, we're going to do our 2-minute break. And we'll continue this conversation when we come back. Okay?
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Hold on. Let me do this. Don't forget, everybody, we're taking our 2-minute break now. If you have to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom, get something to drink, stretch, whatever you got to do, because we're going to have an interesting second hour. Okay, commercials. We'll get there, Jonathan. There we go. Here's the first one.
Looking for stories that are fresh and new? Dark fantasy, humor, space exploration, time travel, cyberpunk, alternate history, and more. They're in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology. From 24 award-winning authors and illustrators, plus art and writing tips and bonus stories. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Buy your copy at galaxypress.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold.
Looking for something new in dark fantasy, humor, space exploration, time travel, alternative history? They're in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology. Get the 10-volume box set with 159 stories and full-color illustrations, plus 34 articles with writings and art tips. Get the UPR on discount, $125 for the entire box set. That's a $60 savings for that beautiful box set. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Go to uprntalkradio.com, click on the link, and place your order.
And welcome back to our second hour of Into the Night with my guest, John Ventre. I'm screwing this all up, dude. That's okay.
Any other questions in there?
No, but I have a couple announcements I got to make.
Oh, okay.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank Carnation for sponsoring the second hour of Into the Night. Thank you, Carnation. And today at work, I saw a lot of Carnation stuff being put out for the holidays. Also, again, I want to tell you that it's CRPS Awareness Month. Those are for people who have the disease that they're always constantly hurting, and there is no cure for it. The only cure they do have for it is pain medicine. And so if you can keep my friends and other people who do have this really nasty disease, please keep them in your prayers. Okay. Welcome back, John. Second hour. First hour was great.
All right.
Let's talk. What I'd like to talk a little bit about is your dealing over in the UK.
Okay.
I mean, what got you into the Knights Templar?
Well, they used to advertise on Facebook ads, and I have a full knight of armor. I don't think you were ever over my house when you came out here 10 years ago, but I have a full knight, and I saw the ad, and they have the white cape with the red liner and the big red cross on the left shoulder. And I said, boy, that looked pretty cool to put on my knight, because the knight stands about 6.5 feet tall. So I bought it, and ever since then, I'm on their email list. So for 10 years, they've been emailing me, So I got an email back in August, and they have a helmet, a Templar helmet, and it was reduced. It was like $300, whatever. So I said, I'm going to buy the helmet. So I bought the helmet because my house every room is themed. I have a Japanese room with a samurai. I've got medieval stuff. I got all knives and swords and axes going up the stairway. It's really cool looking, replicas of, the sword from Gladiator and Conan and all of that. So every room is themed differently. So my attorney who represented me when I ran for county commissioner, and my own party sued me 3 times to get me off the ballot, and I won. He's a Freemason, and he said, I got to get people to join. Can you join? So I said, well, I know they have a Templar branch, so I want to be a Templar, right? So I interview with them, and they right away love me, all right? So
who wouldn't, Joe?
I don't remember who interviewed me, but they were getting ready to actually do the, have me come to the ceremony. And the guy from the Knights Templars in the UK calls me, and he says, the helmet I got for you don't look quite like the ad. I just want to tell you, it's a cone shaped, not a flat top helmet. And I said, that's fine, because the knight in the hallway is a flat top. So now I'll have a cone shaped one, which is okay. And then he says to me, why don't you just join the Knights Templars? He says, you already bought the cape, which was about half the price of all the equipment that you need. And he says, he said, I think it was $300. He goes, another $300, I'll send you the beret, a couple of pins, the white gloves with the Red Cross on it. And then you can come over whenever you want and we'll knight you. So I said, you know what? I don't have a good feeling about the, what's the name of the group now? I forgot the name of it. The
Masons.
The Masons. Yeah, I don't have a good feeling about the Masons. So, and I even said that to him, and he said, don't join the Masons. He said, they're a secret society. They worship a universal God, not the Christian God. And then I'm reading 2 books on exorcism, right, by priests. And both of them in the book said, you cannot be a Catholic, a Christian or a Catholic, and be a Freemason. So again, it's one of those where I was about to join the Freemasons. And it's funny, I'm in the house, and when I made the decision to join the Templars instead of the Freemasons, I actually said, I was pacing back and forth, and I'm in my game room, and I actually said it out loud. And I said, you know what? I'm not joining the Masons because I don't have a good feeling about them. I'm going to join this Templar group. Right next to me, again, was that sonic boom, boom on the wall, right? And there's still something in the house. That's the point of this show. I'm going to tell you about stuff that's happened the last few months. So I then walk into my office here, and I'm standing right here, and now I'm a little annoyed because I knew there was an entity in the house. And I said it again. I'm joining the Templars. I'm not joining the Freemasons. Boom on the wall here. So, and then I kind of laughed to myself and said, see, they do things to trick you. They put thoughts in your head. So, this whole, and they could have put the thought in my attorney's head to ask him to become a Freemason because it's a secret society. And you don't really know what you're involved in with the Freemasons. You really don't. Each level that you go up, there's a historical reenactment that gets done. But what is the significance of it? And I knew about this. And matter of fact, when they interviewed me, I said to them, I read this book called The Hiram Key. And the guy's like, his eyes lit up, like I wasn't supposed to know about that. And I said, I know all about Hiram Abiff. And you reenact the killing of Hiram Abiff. And he says, well, I don't know anything about that. Well, yes, you do, because I think it's the first ceremony that you reenact. Is he knew how to build the pyramids. There were only like 3 people left that knew how to build the pyramids. He was one of them. And these 3 guys wanted to get the knowledge from him, and he refused to tell them. So they beat him. They actually killed him. So I think it's the first ceremony you do when they initiate you is the killing of Hiram Abiff. You play Hiram Abiff. But then as I'm thinking about it, it's like, okay, so the Templars are Christians, and we talk about, Jesus being crucified and beaten, and they're mocking it or doing something similar with the killing of this guy in Egypt, and they're reenacting the killing of him. There's just something didn't sit right with me. So that's how I got involved. But the timing of it again was incredible, because I was ready to join the Freemasons because my attorney asked me to, and I knew they had the York rite is, I think, the 14 levels to be a Knights Templar. So I ended up joining this group over in the UK, and flew over there, and the whole thing. We went to a couple of monasteries, an old priory that they remodeled. It's like 1,000 years old, and you do the whole knighting thing with the sword. You take your vows and all of that, and it's cool. They all refer to you. They call you brother. Right. When you're with them, it's like Brother John, brother Sean, that type of stuff. And,
okay.
They don't. It's like somebody said to me. One of them said, "Well, they got a really cool sword and daggers," and the guy says, "I'm going to buy that sword," and he says to me, "You going to get the sword?" And I said, "Well, my house is full of swords, but I look at it this way: why take a sword to a gunfight? What are you going to do with a sword nowadays? You're actually going to walk around with a sword? Somebody shoot you." So I did buy the dagger because it's really cool, and it's got the cross on it and stuff. So I'm going to put it on the kitchen table. I got the helmet. I'm going to put that dagger right in front of it. My house is like a museum, Sean. So it's like every room, people come over and they're like amazed. I have an Egyptian room. Everything's Egyptian. I got an 8.5 foot tall Horus, the Egyptian god of death, which is probably a mistake. I got a King Tut sarcophagus with a mummy inside, and all Egyptian stuff all in the room. So it's and then I have a Japanese room with a samurai and all Japanese stuff.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. My house is a museum,
Mm-hmm.
And people have actually said it's because you have some of this stuff. My basement, where that's where I would do the show with you guys. And I think I showed you one time with my laptop, the basement was all Bigfoot, UFO, sci-fi stuff all around. It's creepy, actually, the basement, That's where I was doing the podcast with you. But, people see that, and it's like, some people get a little freaked out. It's like, what the hell? This is kind of weird in the basement. I said, well, I love horror and sci-fi, and, I did a lot of TV shows and stuff. So I have all my memorabilia down there. But I
remember the alien. The alien that sat in the corner.
Yeah, and that, and I bring that to the UFO conference, because it actually is very photogenic. It was made that way. So when you take a picture, you can actually see veins and skin and everything. It was the way that they had constructed it,
Oh, wow.
But that's how I got involved in the Templars. And, it's like they do a daily podcast, and sometimes I jump on and listen. They talk just like me. And what they did is they actually made the London Times and the New York Times, this Templar group. In 2016, when England did the Brexit, when they left the EU, they credited the Knights Templars as swaying the public to leave, to vote for Brexit. And really? They put out like 23 million messages, Facebook stuff, and people read it, and they were influenced that we want our independence and to leave the EU, and we're Great Britain. We're separate from Europe. And so there was a front page article, the Knights Templars swayed it. And then what they did with the 2016, the Trump election, they were pro-Trump. And they did some research on Hillary. And I guess and the guy says it's factual. They found some satanic stuff with Hillary Clinton. And they, again, did a social media campaign in the U.S. And I remember it, I remember seeing some of this stuff about Hillary. And I think she was painting her walls with blood or something, but she was involved in this occult activity. I remember seeing it back then, and it made the front page of the New York Times that the Knights Templar did this campaign with millions of, and this is the type of stuff that, they try to stop on Facebook and stuff, is you're being able to influence. But, Facebook is basically just attacked Republicans and conservatives.
They also said that the Knights Templars were like the first bank.
Yeah, they were. What they did was, they would escort people from, let's say, France to Jerusalem, and you'd have to carry money with you, right? So what they did was they created the promissory note. So what they said to you was, deposit your money in Paris. We'll give you a promissory note. You gave us 1,000 francs, right? When you get to Jerusalem, we give you 1,000 francs. So you don't have to, because they always got attacked on the road. But now that you're not carrying any money, so you get to Jerusalem, they give you your money. You give them the promissory note, they give you the money. So they became bankers, and they became very wealthy and more powerful than the king of France, King Philip, and more powerful than the Pope. And they were a militia and around for 200 years, from 1119 to 1320. 1307 was their downfall. And, then by 1328, the Templars were done, basically in Europe, and they were in hiding. And they went over to Scotland, which is why the Freemasons do the Scottish Rite, the 32 degrees Scottish Rite. And interesting, I saw an article, and it said that there is evidence that the Templars were in New Hampshire. They have found evidence that they were there in the late 1300s, about 100 years before Columbus. So wouldn't that be? Yeah, wouldn't that be cool if they actually, Columbus, where'd he land? Down in Jamaica. He never did. He didn't really land in the United States. He was drifting somewhere down south, southwest down there by Puerto Rico or the Bahamas. Somewhere down there is where he ended up.
I really believe in my heart that they need to rewrite the history.
Yeah, I agree. But I think it was, well, they may say the Vikings were here first, but, there is clear evidence that the Templars, after the Pope and King Philip of France destroyed them by planting false evidence and claiming they were devil worshippers, then they fled to Scotland. Some came to the United States. They went to New Hampshire. They just kept going past Iceland and Greenland and ended up in the New England part about 100 or so years before Columbus made it to the Bahamas.
Is that where Friday the 13th came up with?
Yeah. It took place on Friday the 13th, April. I think it was April 13th, 1307. Was when the king and the Pope, King of France, they rounded up all the Templars, accused them of witchcraft and devil worship, and they killed the head guy, Jacques de Molay, and they burnt him at the stake. And they burnt like another 16 of them at the stake who would not admit to devil worship. And then the others saw that they were going to die. They said, yeah, I'll sign that. And they let them go. And they fled. But they destroyed the order with disinformation.
Was it because was it the King of France owed them money?
Well, that was part of it too. They had lent the king a lot of money. So the best way to get out of your loan is to kill the guy who loaned you.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the Templars had as much money as the king did. They had tons, and they had, originally they had an office in Jerusalem in King Solomon's temple, right? And then they had wherever they were, in Germany, in Paris, in England. There were Templars in every of the main cities in Europe. And they had tons of gold and money because they were doing this banking stuff. And it's like, maybe they took 10%, You want to go to wherever you want to go. We'll escort you with a dozen guys, but you give us your money, we give you 90% back, the promissory note. But they were rich, really rich. And, there was a jealousy there between the Vatican and the King of France. And the King of France owed them money because I think they lent them money for a war or something. And, it's kind of like us. We keep spending trillions of dollars here and there. We can't pay this debt back. $33 trillion. And Biden just keeps spending. I don't understand it. I don't live that way. I don't live that way. You don't see me going out taking $100,000 loans every year for something. I don't I buy what I can afford, but that's not the way we run our government. Pennsylvania does the same thing. I ran for governor 2.5 years ago, and our budget was $33 billion 3 years ago. 2019, the budget was $33 billion. Do you know what the budget is they just signed last month? 46.5.
Oh my God.
From 33 to 46 in 4 years. That's like a 39% increase in spending. I don't understand these people. What world do they live in? And you can't sustain it. Every think tank that looked at Pennsylvania said in 2025, you're going to have to raise taxes. You cannot keep up with this type of spending. And it's the same thing for the federal government. Build back better. Here's $1 trillion for COVID. Here's $1.9 trillion for Green New Deal. Build back better. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But that's what happened in France. So they destroyed the Knights Templars and then took whatever gold they could. But the Templars took a lot of that stuff with them. And supposedly the Ark of the Covenant and all of that also,
Do you watch Oak Island?
No. But in the book I wrote before Oak Island came out, Oak Island is its 10th or 11th year. I wrote a book, and I said in my book that the Ark of the Covenant is at Oak Island, buried in that hole, because I had heard about that years ago, before the show came out,
Yeah, it was written in Reader's Digest, I think, about it.
Yeah, I always knew about that. Yeah.
They all because I watched it a lot and I followed it a lot, and everything that they find comes back to the Templars, man, and it's like, their first season's tonight, so
okay.
I'll watch it tomorrow.
Yeah.
But the Templars impress me; they really do.
I say to myself, because I battle the Republican Party. I'm not a Democrat. I am a conservative Republican. So, I say to myself, who are you, John? You're a Knights Templar. That's who you are. I have discipline. I have high standards. I don't do dishonest things, and I look at the Templars and, I went and bought the DVD from the History Channel of Nightfall. Did you see that? It was 2 seasons. It was the fall of the Knights Templar. Landry was the main character. And, I watched it and I said, that's who I am. That's who I've always been since I was a teenager, I don't drink. I am not dishonest. I've never done drugs. I don't gamble. I live a clean life, and that's who they are. So when this thing came up and I joined them, I feel I'm at home, even though they are a Christian nationalist militia. They're a militia. When like in Kosovo last month and in previously in other locations, if Christians come under attack by Muslims, the Templars in Europe bring them supplies, walkie-talkies, Kevlar vests, cases of water, that type of stuff. They don't fight. They don't run guns or anything.
Right.
But kind of like the, first aid type stuff, they bring them supplies and stuff that they need. But they say right on the website, they are not a turn the other cheek, which is a term I've used politically, locally. You guys got to stop turning the other cheek, grow a set, take a stand. That's exactly what these Templars do, but they are a militia, I made a lot of good friends with the militia in Pittsburgh when I ran for governor. They heard me speak in Butler, and at a couple of events, in front of them, I even said, I support the militia. I was the only governor candidate who said that publicly. I support our militias across the state. They would never say that. None of them would. Matter of fact, when we did the debate in Newcastle, there was 14 of us running for governor. The question was, did Joe Biden win the presidency legitimately? And the other 13 couldn't answer the question. They all said, well, you got to accept the results. Nothing you could do about it. It got to me. I happened to be the last one, right? I said, Joe Biden did not win. Joe Biden cheated. The place erupted. I'm telling you, I thought they were going to pull the seats out of the ground. They were stamping, smashing the seats, screaming, yeah, finally somebody told the truth, But that's me. That's who I am. I'm a Knights Templar. That's who I am in my heart.
And I'm real happy that you are. But a couple more minutes, and then I'll have you on for about another 15, 20 minutes. Okay.
Well, let me go back to some of the other haunted stuff that happened.
That's what I want you to talk about for the next.
Because I definitely want to talk about what happened this year. I'm going to give you some quick stuff. This haunted stuff has always been with me. I moved to New Jersey in 1991, and as soon as I moved in, you got the moving boxes in the garage. We hear them sliding around the cement garage floor. My father comes over and it was standing in the den. And he goes, what's that noise? I said, Dad, the moving boxes slide around the garage floor. There was my daughter would hear a rocking chair and a baby crying in the spare bedroom. My sister, my girlfriend, I ended up getting divorced in that house. My wife's personality did a complete 180. I used to say, I don't know who this woman is. This is not my wife. This is somebody else. And I think she had an entity attached to her. But my sister and my girlfriend saw this rolling shadow across the ceiling. I saw it one time. My son saw a creature walk down the hallway, the same creature that was in my dream, in 1999. He saw it there in New Jersey. He also heard voices in the wall. When he'd lay down at night, a voice in the wall behind his headboard would say, I'm going to get you. And one time when I woke up in the middle of the night with my girlfriend, and there's a kid standing at the footboard of my bed. He had overalls on, a plaid shirt, a bowl cut haircut. He was a blonde-haired kid. He looked just like my son. I told him, come on, get into bed. He laid down next to me, and I remember it, Sean. I put the blanket, my arm over him like it was my son. And in the morning, I told my girlfriend, and she goes, well, the kids didn't sleep over last night. I said, I saw that kid. And then one time when I was out of town traveling, I came home, and she said, I saw the kid too at the footboard, So, that's where the bulk of this paranormal activity started.
Did you research the house? Did you do any?
I wasn't into anything back then. I'm telling you, Sean, I was so busy working at UPS. I just got divorced. You're stressed out. You're paying child support. You're working. I didn't have time, and I wasn't into any of this type of research at the time. But 97, I moved here, and as soon as I move in the hallway, right where that column of smell was, right?
Yeah.
That wall, as soon as the first day I move in, I lay down to go to bed, this slow, methodical knocking, not loud, a thump, thump. I'd walk down the hallway, I'd hit the wall, it would stop. I'd walk into the bedroom, open the closet up, hit the wall. As soon as I lay down, start it again. This went on for 26 years, right?
Wow.
So what I did a couple of months ago, I read a book by a psychiatrist whose wife was a medium, and they contacted spirits. And what he said in the book was, don't do the Catholic priest thing of commanding it to leave in the name of Jesus or you'll go to the lake of fire. He goes, these are ghosts.
Yes.
Jesus will not drive ghosts out. Jesus works on demons, not ghosts. He says, soft sell them, speak to them, explain to them. So I did what you probably would do. So I read the book, and here's the tapping, right? It's in the middle of the night. I had it, I get up, I walk down the hallway to where it is, and I said, I said to him very calmly, I said, I hear you. I have heard you for 26 years. The year is 2023. I don't know
Mhm.
what year you think it is, but it's
Mhm.
2023. I've lived here 26 years. I've heard you every night. Every night you tap on this wall. I walk down the wall, hit it. You stop. I lay down. You do it again. I said,
Right.
you're dead. You're dead. You're probably from the cemetery right next to my house. I said, you're dead. I'm alive. You're not
Mhm.
alive. So I explained it to him. And I said, you got to go. And I said to him, Sean, I said, I heard you from the first day when you tapped on the wall right here. And when I said here, my finger tapped right there on that wall. And I turned
Really?
and said, very good. That's exactly what I mean. You know,
Wow.
and that's how quick it reacted. As soon as I said you tapped right here, it hit the wall right there.
I remember some investigations we did.
Mm,
You know, where spirits would like make a lot of noise,
yeah,
and the people were going crazy. Did this one house, and it was the first time I ever did this kind of thing. We sat down and made a deal with the spirit. Okay, we really did made a deal,
yeah,
and it came out of the my client's mouth. He goes, "Listen, we like you. We know you're here.
mm,
But with you knocking and moving shit and losing our keys and bringing them back, all kinds of mischievous things, um, we're going to let you have run of the house from 6 a.m. in the morning up to 10 o'clock at night. But after 10
yeah,
o'clock at night, they, no more. And do you know what? To this day, John, it still happens. They
yeah.
don't hear nothing after 10 o'clock.
Well, I tell you what happened with this thing when I soft sold it, spoke to it, it goes down the hallway, tapping the wall, lighter, 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 till I could barely hear it tap, and it left. It hasn't
Mhm.
been back. It's been a couple of months now. It left. It's
Because
like,
you recognized it. You
oh,
You
I knew.
knew
Yeah.
what was going. Yeah, and
But
it kind of like put a shock to the dude.
yeah, yeah. Well, maybe that's their entertainment or they're trying to get my attention. They're probably just trying to scare me. And, so I finally acknowledged them, explained everything to them. And I said, you're annoying me. You're not scaring me. I've heard you for 26 years. I'm trying to sleep at night and it left. And, but I'll tell you something else that happened. So, and this is again on the paranormal side is, my kids, grew up in Jersey, but I would always go get them and bring them here. So they're here, and we go to. I was on the board of juvenile diabetes. We go to the gala in Pittsburgh. It's April 24th of 2010. So we all go to bed at night. It's probably midnight, whatever. We go to bed, but my daughter at 4 a.m. comes bursting through my door, saying hysterical, Dad, you're not going to believe what happened. You're not going to believe what happened. I know you're not going to believe what happened. And I said, well, tell me what happened. She goes, well, she said she needed a drink of water. She went downstairs to the kitchen. There was no bottles of water there. So she went to the basement refrigerator. And she says, as soon as she took the bottle of water out of the refrigerator, something was standing behind her. She says, Dad, I could feel it. It was malevolent. The hairs on my neck went up. I could almost feel it breathing on me. And she says, I walked up the stairs, laid down. As soon as she laid down in her bed, something pressed into her body, not sexually, just laid on
Right?
top.
Yeah, yeah.
And she said it was so painful as it pushed into her body. She said it was very painful and she was frozen. She was
Mhm.
awake the whole time. She could move her eyes. That was it. And then she saw all these shadow people standing around her, like a whole bunch of them. And
Mhm.
in her head, she could hear them all talking like a crowded room. And she said, Dad, there was one standing in the doorway leaning against the door frame, and he said, it's probably all the ghosts from the cemetery. And he said to the group, he said, when you're done with her, I want to try out the other two, meaning my son
Oh,
and his fiance in the other room. That wording is not something my 3-year-old daughter would make up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So there again, you've got these shadow people, and this thing with that. My daughter's bedroom got really creepy, actually. In 2014, when I told you I came under attack, where everything started banging and stuff. My daughter was supposed to come over with her. I think it was her fiance or her husband at the time. They didn't have any kids yet. And they were going to sleep over here for a couple of nights and then go to her brother's house. So it's Thanksgiving week again. It's always Thanksgiving when this stuff happens, November. I go upstairs Monday. Her bedroom door is open. I keep all the doors closed when it gets cold. I shut the vents in the spare bedrooms. Her bedroom door is open. I close it. I go to bed Tuesday night. I go upstairs. I look down the hallway. Her bedroom door is open again. I said, what's going on here? You got to turn the handle. The dog's not opening the door. I close the door, right? So Wednesday morning, she calls me before she flies out and says, Dad, I'm not staying at your house. It's creepy. And what happened last time with the shadow people? You know, she goes, I'm not staying there. As soon as she said that, this thing turned on me. It was sending me a message, opening the door. It was so anxious. It was going to attack my daughter. My daughter would have come under some sort of demonic attack.
Right.
And that's when it launched its attack on me. That's that 2014. Well, this is now later in the year. It's Thanksgiving of 2015.
Right.
And I've been battling the banging sounds and now it turns into the Exorcist movie where, if you remember the movie, the sliding in the ceiling, like a body being dragged, loud bangs on both walls. I remember laying in bed watching the Damien TV series, which is about Christ, right? So I'm watching it, and all of a sudden, both walls start banging. Bum, 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 bum. I grabbed the controller. I turned it off. It stopped. You know, and there's creaking sounds like they're crushing a can. You know, I mean, this thing got really intense, and it got to the point where it's now January of 16, right around New Year's or right after New Year's, and this is going on every night. As soon as I go to bed, there's banging, creaking. There's a entity in the house. It's doing that, and you know, I'm doing what that Rhonda woman told me, and the priests and everything. And I'm commanding it in the name of Jesus Christ to leave, and all of that, right? So it stops. So I lay down, and then I open my eyes, and I am in pitch darkness, black as black. I sit up, and I'm saying, "What the hell is going on?" The moon. There's a full moon. There was light coming through the windows 5 minutes ago. Why is there no light coming through? It's the darkest I've ever seen it, you know? Everything starts up again, and I realized I'm going to come under attack. Something's about to happen. Whether this is the shadow of death was going to take my soul or kill me, I don't know what it was, or it was going to take me and throw me around the room like the Exorcist movie. Or maybe I was going to be possessed. Maybe it was actually going to enter me and possess me. I don't know. But I got concerned at that point. And I again said the whole ritual of, you know, Jesus Christ and the lake of fire. And I added one line. I said, and I got mad at this point. I was never really scared of this thing. I got mad and I said, you stood in the presence of God and you rejected him. You rejected him. You cannot disobey the name of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ commands you to leave. You have to leave right now. And it all stopped. And for about 3 seconds, there was a veil of blackness just about that quickly go up. And the moonlight came back in the room and it stopped.
Wow.
And I don't know what was going to happen at that moment, but something was going to happen. But, you know, I looked back at it and I said, you know what? It was about scaring me straight, getting me out of the UFO field, because the more I was in it, I was going down this, you know, rabbit hole of the paranormal. I didn't go to church anymore. I didn't say my prayers. I never said grace. I had gotten to the point where I never thought of God. Zero. It was God was completely out of my life at that point. And it was because I was in this UFO field, talking about ancient aliens, talking about these cases, doing 35 TV episodes, and that was pulling me more and more. I was on the board of MUFON, all of that. And this was done, I think, to wake me up, like to scare me straight and get me out of that, because I think I was on the verge of losing my soul. I really do, Sean. That
I believe you.
I look back at that time period and I said, my God, I mean, I look at me now. I go to 2 churches. I go to Wednesday night classes that, alternate between the churches. I say my prayers every night. I'm a reborn Christian. I'm a Knights Templar. I am back to being who I was before I got involved in the UFO field. And again, the UFO field, out-of-body experience, lucid dreams, shadow people. What is this UFO field? What is going on? And as soon as I could pull out of this thing, and I still do some of the conferences and stuff, but my heart's not in it anymore because I don't trust it and I think it's paranormal, and now I'm a reborn Christian, absolute reborn Christian,
I'm really glad to hear that. And like you used to say to me over a year ago, I'm going to save you.
Yeah.
I'm going to save you one of these days.
And I'm going to, Sean, because you're making a big mistake.
I retired from that stuff, dude. I retired.
Yeah, I know, but you got to turn to Jesus. You got to actually believe he's real. Even though you don't believe a lot of the stuff in the Bible, he's real. And, I tell people, because, I even did analysis of the 4 Gospels and read some books, and there were big discrepancies between what the 4 apostles said. If this is the same story, they should all have the same story. But if you compare them, John's talking about, fire and brimstone and the lake of fire and the end of days. Well, the other 3 never said a word about that.
Exactly. Now, here's the crazy part about John. That was written 97 years after Christ died.
Yeah, that was right at the end. He was the youngest one. And he was, on the island. And you know that he was the only one that was not killed. He of the apostles, the 12, he's the only one that was not executed for preaching Christianity. He was banished to the island of Patmos, and he was, in his, I don't know how old he was, 100, and he's writing this, and it was like the governor of the island kind of revered him and didn't punish him, didn't whip him, but just kept him in solitary. And he actually would write stuff, and he's writing his gospel, but he'd give stuff to the prison guard to give to the governor of the island, and was converting the guy to Christianity. I think the guy actually was a closet Christian.
Right.
But and I say to people, all right, I don't know if the 12 apostles all had different stories, and if you read the other, you'll read Thomas. I always liked Thomas's gospel.
I did too.
Yeah.
And I liked what Thomas had, how the way he thought. It was like, why do I need to go to a 4-wall building to pray with other people where I can go wherever I want and pray and God will still love me?
Yeah, and God's everywhere. He said God's in your house. He's in the forest. He's in the beach. And wherever you are, God's in you. He's not in a church. He's in you. And I always kind of liked his. It was more like a New Age type belief. But, what I tell people is, if you take the Bible, let's say the King James Version, and the New Testament part, I don't really look at the Old Testament, because that is more a history book of the Hebrews and Moses, and stuff applies because there's prophecy in the Old Testament that applies to the New Testament because they said he was coming, right? But I tell them, take the New Testament. Anything you see written in red is confirmed that Jesus said it. So that might only be 10% of the whole New Testament. So I tell people, just read what's written in red. Don't read the rest of it by these old guys. I don't know if they were just surmising and talking. The Christians will tell you every word is the word of God said to them and they wrote it down. I don't know if that's true or not. What I do know is what's written in red is confirmed to be what Jesus said. So only read what he says. And I think you get enough out of the New Testament, But I don't know if do you believe in Jesus? Do you believe?
I believe in God.
Okay. And well, he was God incarnate in the body, the Son of God. And it's the Trinity of the Spirit, the Son, and God, right?
One day, John, I'm going to come out your house. We're going to have coffee, and I will share my experience with you.
Yeah.
Not on the radios, and I'll just tell you where I come from.
Yeah, well, you said on the other show that one day you were going to do that on the radio. So we got to do a show when you're ready to come out of the closet and what actually happened to you.
Yeah, whenever I'm ready. You know what? If it's supposed to happen, it's going to happen. But listen, my friend, I need to let you go.
I need a couple of minutes. You got a couple of minutes?
Yeah, you got a couple of minutes.
Real quick, I wanted to talk about this year, right? So January 2023, I'm on the podcast with you and Jen, and you probably remember this. Well, maybe I told you the following week. We're doing the podcast. I was away in a hotel room. My phone, there was tapping in the closet, banging.
Yeah, I remember.
My phone got extremely hot. I did the show on my phone, and afterwards, I had to unplug it, turn it off, and I put it in the freezer, in the refrigerator to cool it down. And it was very hot in the hotel, and it was 78 degrees in my room, yet the heat was set on 72. Right. So that was one thing. Then February, I got my new dog, my Doberman, right? So I'm sitting right here. He's right there. All of a sudden, he gets up and he walks to the kitchenette area and he starts growling and barking and kind of looking up and barking, and then runs and hides in the corner, right? Then he walks over and peeks around the door frame and runs back, and he does it again, peeks around and runs back. So that entity was out there scaring him. Right. I wish I would have jumped up and ran over. Who knows what I would have seen, like it was standing there and it looked like a bear, a werewolf, a demon, but whatever it did to the dog, this freaking 85-pound Doberman ran and hid in the corner 3 times, Wow. So it's still in the house. So then April of this year, that's when I talked the ghost to leave. I already told you that part. July of this year, I'm watching my DVDs. I'm watching Annabelle, right? So the dog is in front of me, and there's these. See, I know this is a different sound. There's a scratching sound on the stone fireplace, right? Mm-hmm. There's taps, but it's a very unnatural type tap and scratching, right? And the dog is in front of me, and all of a sudden the dog looks up at the fireplace and he just stares. Right. And then it's moving across the ceiling. I can't see anything. You see the dog's head just following it over us and then staring straight up at it. And I knew the dog can hear it. Maybe it's saying something, or it's growling. It's in a different tone, frequency. I can't hear it, Mm-hmm. So that's just a couple of months ago in July. The demon is gone, but they leave behind what I call a minion.
Yep. That's sure what my friend.
A watcher. Yep. There is a watcher or a minion that's left behind.
It's a minion.
Yeah. Minion. And they're in the house. They've been here, and it really pisses me off. It really does, Sean, because I know, it's here somewhere,
Right. But eventually I guarantee, I don't know. I just have faith in you, John, that you're going to find it and you're going to kick its ass and send it off. And I mean that I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Well, I even said in my book that I just published, The Ufologist, that when I die, I'm going to piss down its throat and I'm going to collapse its empire. You know, because they made an enemy of the wrong person. I'm going to get it. When I'm on the other side, I'm going to get even.
Oh yeah, that I know you feel. But John, last minute, real quick, where can people get a hold of you, in touch with you?
Yeah, well, you can find me on Facebook. Just send me a message. My email is my name, jventre, the number one, jventre1 at comcast.net. And if you go to Amazon, you see all my books there. Just look my name up. And if you go to johnventre.com, that's my website. And right in the middle, it says free lectures. And I got 117 podcasts I've done. And they're all up there on tons of topics, and so you can watch my stuff,
I appreciate you being on, John, and we're gonna have to do this again down the road. I really enjoyed tonight.
Yeah, when you come out of the closet with your story, I want to hear it.
I'll definitely be. You'll be the very first one to hear it. All right, John, you have a good night, my friend.
All right, thanks for having me on.
Mm-hmm. Wow, what a great show. It was so cool to see John, honest to God. I hope everybody got something out of the show tonight. John is very, very smart in all kinds of different fields. And like we were talking about, it was like, it's been over a year since we've actually did something. Cindy, absolutely amazing show. Thank you, Cindy, very much. Thank you for coming on. And everybody out there tonight who came into the room, Brandon, Jenny, Cindy, Johnny, Virginia, everybody, thank you for stopping in tonight. And I hope you enjoyed it. I'm not going to draw cards tonight because we are running a little bit over. But just remember, everybody, please, and I'm going to say it again, that this disease, CRPS, is awareness. It's the awareness month in November. Please say some prayers for everybody who has that. They really need it. Rhonda said, "Glad I finally was able to catch the show." I'm glad you came, Rhonda. I'm glad. Remember, Rhonda, we're here every Tuesday night from 8 p.m., 10 p.m. on UPRN Talk Radio, 105.3 New Orleans, 107.7 Mississippi. But before I go, I know we have a new show that comes right after me. And I'm sorry, I just don't know the show, but I listened. She was on last Tuesday after the Halloween party show, and I heard a little bit of, she's a good person. But you know what? I'm going to find out more about her, and then I will do a little bit more communication with you guys out there about listening to her. So hang around. There's another show next, and I guarantee you will enjoy it. And on that note, I want to wish everybody a good night. Next week, next Tuesday, I will be here at 8 p.m. So till then, good night, everybody.